The desert was silent. Only the wind moved, brushing over the cracked earth and the broken metal of what had once been a research station. A red sun hung low in the sky, throwing long shadows across the ground. Captain Aaron Hayes stood there, his boots sinking slightly into the dust. His visor reflected the ruined outpost ahead. The signal had come from here, a message in a language no one on Earth could translate. Now, he was the only one close enough to find the source. He checked his wrist scanner. The green light blinked. The signal was still alive, weak but steady. He took a breath, then started walking toward the wreckage. The silence was strange. Even the air felt thick, heavy, like something was watching him. "Base, this is Hayes," he said into his comms. "I've reached the coordinates. The area looks deserted." Static answered him. He frowned. "Base? Do you copy?" Nothing. The comms were dead. Aaron swallowed hard and kept moving. He had been a soldier before he became an explorer, but this kind of silence, the one that made your own breath sound too loud, was the kind that set nerves on fire. Then he saw it. Something moved inside the wreckage. A flicker of silver against the shadows. He froze. Slowly, he raised his weapon. The shape stepped forward. It wasn't human. Tall, thin, almost graceful, like light made solid. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the sun in soft waves of blue and silver. Her eyes glowed faint white, not cold, but distant. An alien. Aaron's training screamed at him to be careful, to retreat and report, but something about her presence made his pulse slow instead of race. She wasn't attacking. She wasn't even armed. She just stood there, watching him with quiet curiosity. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, without warning, the alien tilted her head and took one step forward. The air shimmered slightly around her, a thin layer of energy like invisible armor. Aaron tightened his grip on his weapon. "Stay back," he said firmly. The alien didn't move. Instead, her lips parted. Her voice was soft, but not through sound, it echoed directly in his mind. "You should not be here, human." Aaron's breath caught. Her words weren't hostile, they were filled with warning, and maybe even fear. He lowered his weapon a little. "I got your signal," he said. "You called for help." The alien's eyes blinked once. Slowly. "I did not call. I warned." Her gaze shifted past him, toward the horizon, where storm clouds of black and red were forming. Lightning cracked silently within them. Aaron followed her eyes. "Warned? Warned about what?" Before she could answer, his scanner beeped wildly. Something massive was approaching, not from the sky, but from beneath the ground. The dust around them began to tremble. Aaron's instincts screamed. He turned, scanning the ground. "What the hell?" The alien raised her hand. "Run," she whispered. The ground exploded. A massive shape burst out, metal, claws, red light burning where eyes should be. It wasn't alive. It was a machine, a hunting drone, built for war. Aaron was thrown to the ground. The alien moved fast, faster than his eyes could track, leaping between him and the machine. Energy flashed around her hands as she threw up a barrier of light. The machine's energy blast hit it, shaking the air. Aaron rolled over, grabbed his blaster, and fired. The shot hit the drone's leg, leaving a glowing scar, but it barely slowed down. The alien shouted something in her own language, a series of sharp, melodic tones, and the air around her shimmered brighter. She looked like light in motion, striking the drone again and again, until with a final burst of energy, it fell still, smoking. Silence returned. Dust drifted down like snow. Aaron got to his feet slowly, coughing. His visor was cracked, and his arm throbbed. He looked at her, the alien woman, standing there with faint light still glowing in her palms. "You saved me," he said quietly. Her eyes turned to him. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "I did not save you. I stopped it." He frowned. What was that thing? She didn't answer. Instead, she turned away and began to walk toward the wreckage. Aaron followed, limping slightly. Inside the broken station, strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The air was warmer here, humming with hidden power. She stopped near a console and touched it. The screen flickered to life, showing maps, signals, and one blinking point. Earth. Aaron's heart skipped. You were watching us. She nodded once. Your world burns fast. You reach for stars before learning what waits in the dark. He didn't understand what she meant. Are you saying something is coming? The alien woman turned slowly toward him. Her expression softened, the first sign of emotion. She stepped closer, her eyes searching his face. No one among my kind, she said, ever spoke such words to a human. Aaron blinked, confused. What words? She hesitated. Her lips trembled slightly, as if the thought itself was forbidden. Then she whispered, softly, almost human, "You're beautiful." Aaron froze. Time itself seemed to stop for a moment. The sound of the wind, the hum of the machines, everything faded. She looked shocked at her own words, as if they had escaped her control. Her hand went to her mouth, her eyes wide with something close to fear. Then, before Aaron could speak, the console behind her began to beep violently. Warning symbols flashed in alien text. The alien woman turned sharply. They've found us. Who? Aaron asked. She looked back at him, her eyes glowing brighter now, not soft, but fierce. My people. The ground shook again, and the red clouds outside began to swirl faster. Aaron felt his heart hammer in his chest. Then we'd better run. She stared at him, as if seeing something no one had ever seen in a human before. Then she nodded once. And they ran. The sky had turned the color of blood. Thunder rolled without sound, flashes of red lightning cutting through the clouds like cracks in glass. The wind howled across the desert, throwing dust and metal fragments into the air. Aaron Hayes ran beside the alien woman, his boots sinking into the sand. Every breath burned. Behind them, the broken station trembled, lights flickering before it was swallowed by the storm. Where are we going? Aaron shouted over the roaring wind. The alien didn't look back. Away from here. They will destroy everything to find us. Aaron glanced behind. In the distance, dark shapes were moving through the storm, flying machines like black spears slicing the sky. Each one glowed with a red core. Hunters. His heart pounded. Your people sent them. Yes, she said, voice calm but sharp. They track my energy. I broke our law to speak with you. Because you said those words, he asked, almost breathless. The alien looked at him briefly. Her eyes, glowing white, showed something human for the first time, confusion, fear, maybe regret. I said what I should not feel, she answered. And for that, they will erase me. Aaron didn't know what to say. He wanted to ask more, but the ground shook again. A hunter drone screamed past above them, firing beams of light that turned the sand into glass. Move, he shouted, grabbing her arm. They dove behind a half-buried rock ridge as the beam exploded nearby. The blast threw waves of heat and light over them. Aaron's visor cracked more, the display blinking red warnings. He rolled onto his back, breathing hard. If they want you, why attack me too? The alien woman turned her head toward him. Because you heard me, she said. They cannot allow a human to know. Aaron laughed dryly. Great. So both of us are targets. She nodded once. Yes. The wind roared again. The sky was now a whirlpool of red and black. Aaron looked up, he could barely see through the storm, but faint flashes of light showed the hunters moving closer. He sat up. We can't stay here. Any ideas? The alien raised her hand, closing her eyes. For a second, the air around her shimmered, forming patterns of blue light. When she opened her eyes again, she said, there is a cave 2 kilometers north. It hides energy. They cannot track inside. Then we go, he said quickly. They started running again, fighting the wind. The storm grew heavier, dust cutting across their suits like knives. Aaron's oxygen meter blinked yellow, warning him. He ignored it. He'd been in worse conditions, but never with a glowing alien running beside him. As they moved, Aaron couldn't stop glancing at her. Her skin shimmered brighter under the red lightning, almost like she was absorbing the energy. You never told me your name, he said between breaths. She hesitated, still running. Names are not given easily among my kind. Then give me the hard way, he said, half smiling despite the chaos. After a moment, she said softly, Lyra. Lyra, he repeated. Beautiful name. She didn't reply, but he saw her glance away quickly, as if the word beautiful struck deeper than she wanted to admit. Behind them, the hunters closed in. One fired again. The beam missed by inches, carving a molten line into the sand. The heat seared Aaron's back as they stumbled forward. Lyra suddenly stopped. She turned, her hands glowing with white energy. Keep running, she said. What are you doing? Aaron shouted. I'll slow them down. Before he could argue, she lifted both arms. The air screamed, a blinding wave of light burst from her body, striking the closest hunter. The machine cracked in half, spinning down into the sand with a dying roar. The others shifted direction, scanning for her energy signature. Aaron grabbed her arm again. Come on. You said they can track that. Lyra looked pale, her glow fading slightly. You are right. Go. They ran again, faster this time. The cave finally came into view, a dark opening beneath a ridge of black stone. Lightning flashed across the sky behind them as the hunters descended, red eyes glowing. Aaron reached the entrance first, turned, and fired his blaster. One of the drones exploded mid-air, pieces raining down in fire. Lyra darted past him, motioning for him to follow inside. As soon as they entered, the air changed. The storm's noise faded away, replaced by a low hum, like an ancient machine buried deep within the rock. The walls glowed faintly blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. Aaron leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Please tell me they can't find us here. Lyra touched the wall gently. They cannot sense this place. It was built long before my people rose. Built by who? He asked. She didn't answer at first. Instead, she walked deeper into the cave. By the first ones, she said quietly. The ones who left warnings across the stars. Aaron followed, his flashlight sweeping over strange carvings, circles, spirals, symbols that looked half human, half alien. What were they warning about? He asked. Lyra stopped before a stone pillar covered in glowing lines. Something your world will soon face, she whispered. Aaron frowned. You mean war? No, she said. Extinction. The word hung in the air like ice. Aaron stepped closer. Extinction from what? Lyra turned toward him slowly. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were filled with something heavier, sorrow. There is a shadow in space, she said. It consumes civilizations. My people once fought it and lost. We serve it now, because we fear it. Aaron's chest tightened. You mean, you're slaves? She nodded once. Bound by survival. But when I saw your world signal, I felt something different. You humans do not bow. You fight. You hope. Aaron studied her for a long moment. That's what we do best, he said quietly. Lyra looked away. And that is why they will destroy you first. Silence filled the cave. The faint hum from the walls seemed to echo her words. Then, somewhere deep inside, a low vibration began. The ground trembled slightly. Aaron looked around. What now? Lyra's eyes widened. They found the entrance. How? You said they couldn't. They can't track me, but they can track you, she said. Your device. Aaron glanced at his wrist scanner. The green light still blinked faintly. He cursed, ripped it off, and threw it against the wall, smashing it. The rumble grew louder. Stones fell from the ceiling. They are coming through. Aaron shouted. Lyra grabbed his hand. Her touch was cold but alive with energy. Then we go deeper. Deeper, he said. What's down there? She looked at him, eyes glowing like stars. The truth. Without another word, she pulled him forward into the darkness as the cave behind them exploded with red light. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Aaron's breath came out in faint clouds, glowing slightly under the strange blue light pulsing from the walls. The tunnel seemed endless, smooth stone, carved perfectly, leading downward in a spiral that felt too precise to be natural. Lyra's steps were silent. She moved with calm grace, her faint glow lighting the path ahead. Aaron followed close, blaster ready, his pulse still racing from the chase above. Behind them, the cave entrance had collapsed. The rumble had stopped, but he could still feel the echoes in his chest. "How far does this go?" he asked, voice low. Lyra didn't turn. "Far beneath the surface. The first ones built this place as a refuge and a tomb." Aaron frowned. "A tomb? You will see." The air grew warmer again. The tunnel opened suddenly into a vast chamber, so huge it took Aaron's breath away. It was a city. Buildings of crystal and metal rose from the stone floor, all glowing faintly with the same blue light. Bridges connected tall towers that looked like frozen lightning. Rivers of energy ran through the streets like glowing veins. It was silent, untouched by time. Aaron stepped forward slowly, awe spreading across his face. This is incredible." Lyra looked at the city with calm sadness. "This is what remains of the first ones. They built wonders, but even they could not escape the shadow." He looked at her. "The thing that destroyed your people." She nodded. "It comes from between stars. It does not live, yet it consumes all life." Aaron felt a chill crawl up his spine. "And you serve it now?" Lyra didn't answer immediately. "We survive," she said finally. "That is not the same." They walked through the silent streets. Aaron could hear only their footsteps and the faint hum from the energy streams below their feet. He stopped at a broken statue, a tall figure with wings made of light. "Who were they?" "The ones who tried to fight it," Lyra said softly. "The last of their kind died here. They left their knowledge in these walls, hoping someone would come, someone who still believed in freedom." Aaron ran his fingers along the smooth stone. "And you think that someone is me?" Lyra looked at him. "You came when no one else dared. You heard our signal, not as a warning, but as a call. That is what makes humans dangerous." He smiled slightly. "We do have a habit of running toward trouble." Before Lyra could answer, the ground trembled again, softly at first, then stronger. The blue light in the city flickered. Aaron looked around. "Don't tell me they found us again." Lyra closed her eyes, sensing something. "No," she said after a moment. "This is older. Something is waking." Aaron didn't like the sound of that. Waking. She walked toward a large circular platform at the center of the city. Symbols glowed across its surface. The heart of the city. It senses life again. Aaron followed, looking down at the markings. "Looks like some kind of control system." Lyra nodded. "The first ones left a message here. It can only be read by two minds, one of their kind, and one of yours." He blinked. "Mine. I'm human. I don't know how to read alien code." "You don't need to," she said softly. "You just need to open your mind." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "That sounds easy." Lyra stepped closer, placing her hand on his chest. Her touch sent a pulse of energy through him, like static, sharp and warm at once. "Do not resist," she whispered. Blue light burst around them. The chamber vanished. Aaron gasped. He wasn't in the cave anymore. He stood in a place of stars, infinite darkness filled with glowing shapes, like memories made of light. Images flashed before his eyes, planets burning, fleets of ships destroyed, beings of pure shadow swallowing suns. He saw Lyra's world, cities shining with silver towers, then falling under the same red clouds that now hung over the desert above. He saw her people kneeling before something huge and formless, a black shape that blocked the stars themselves. He heard a voice, deep and distant. "We are the silence between stars. All that shines will fade." Aaron staggered back, clutching his head. "What is that?" Lyra's voice echoed beside him. "The shadow. It speaks when it feels life. It knows we are here." The images began to blur. The stars faded, replaced by symbols and words he didn't recognize, but somehow he understood them. "If you read this, you are the last hope. The light must fight again." Then the vision shattered. Aaron fell to his knees on the stone floor, gasping for air. The city lights had dimmed, but one new light glowed at the platform's center, a crystal, pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra knelt beside him. Are you all right? He nodded weakly. Yeah, I think so. But I saw things, Lyra. The shadow. The first ones. They left a message. She looked at the crystal. The key, she said quietly. It chose you. Aaron blinked. Chose me? Lyra touched the crystal gently. It glowed brighter. It means you are connected to the first ones now. Their power may live through you. He shook his head, half laughing. I'm just a soldier, Lyra. Not some chosen hero. Her gaze softened. The first ones were soldiers too, until they chose to become more. Before Aaron could reply, a sharp sound echoed through the chamber, metallic, distant. He looked up. Red light flickered at the far edge of the city. Lyra stood quickly. No, she whispered. They've broken through the rock. Aaron groaned. You've got to be kidding me. How many of those things are there? Enough to erase us both, Lyra said grimly. But the key must survive. She reached for his hand, pressing the glowing crystal into his palm. The light sank into his skin, leaving a faint mark shaped like a circle of stars. What did you just do? He asked. I gave it to you. If I fall, you must reach the surface. The shadow cannot be allowed to return. Aaron grabbed her wrist. Stop. I'm not leaving you here. Lyra looked into his eyes. Humans always say that. That is why your kind may still have hope. The sound of the hunters grew louder. Red lights flashed between the towers. Aaron stood, raising his blaster. Then we fight. Lyra's eyes glowed bright white. Together. The first hunter drone burst through a bridge above, firing down at them. Aaron rolled behind a pillar and returned fire. The beam hit the drone's wing, sending it crashing into a building. Lyra raised her hands, forming a shield of light around them. Sparks rained down. They fought side by side, human and alien, as the forgotten city of the first ones came alive with the sound of war once again. Above them, through miles of stone, the storm still raged. And far beyond, something in the darkness of space turned its gaze toward the small blue world called Earth. Silence returned to the ruined cavern. Only a faint blue glow remained, flickering across the cracked floor like dying fireflies. Aaron Hayes stood still, trying to catch his breath. Every sound of dripping water or shifting stone made him flinch. Lyra knelt near the shattered heart. Her fingers hovered over it, the light from her palms dim and trembling. The once bright sphere was now just a dull crystal, pulsing faintly as if struggling to breathe. Is it dead? Aaron asked. Lyra shook her head slowly. No. The heart cannot die. It sleeps, but its dreams shape the world. Aaron frowned. Dreams? You mean it's still doing something? Yes, she said softly. Even sleeping, it listens. Before he could speak again, a low hum filled the chamber. The cracked crystal gave off a short pulse of light, blue, then gold, then dark again. Lyra's eyes widened. It is listening to us. Aaron stepped back. Okay, that's creepy. Lyra placed her hand on the crystal. We need to leave before it fully wakes. Its energy draws attention. To who? The hunters. She looked up at him. No. To something far worse. They moved quickly through the tunnels. The glowing symbols on the walls flickered as they passed, like eyes following them. The air grew colder. Each breath formed a cloud. Aaron carried a small torch from his suit. Its light was pale compared to the blue glow around them. After a long silence, he said, You never told me why they call you a traitor. Lyra didn't look back. Because I refused to obey. That's not much of an answer. She paused. On my world, feelings are forbidden. We serve logic, duty, and the will of the council. When I saw what the shadow did to the weak, I questioned the law. I saved lives I was ordered to destroy. Aaron's voice was quiet. So you cared. Lyra turned to him, her golden eyes glowing faintly. Care is a human word. But yes, maybe I did. He smiled faintly. Then maybe you're more human than you think. She didn't reply, but he saw something change in her face, softness, quickly hidden again. They reached an ancient doorway carved into the rock. Strange metal veins ran through it like roots. Lyra touched a small mark on the frame. The door opened with a sigh, revealing a narrow path lined with crystals. At the far end, faint sunlight shone down through a crack in the ceiling. They were close to the surface. Aaron exhaled. Finally, a way out. Lyra nodded, but her expression was uneasy. Do you feel that? Aaron stopped. The air buzzed. A deep vibration came through the ground, steady, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. He whispered, "The heart." Lyra's eyes narrowed. No. Something else. A second later, the floor split open behind them. Blue light poured through the cracks. Aaron jumped forward. Go. The tunnel shook violently. From the broken stone, tendrils of light began to rise, thin, snake-like streams twisting together into a shape. Lyra stared in horror. It's a fragment of the shadow. Aaron raised his weapon. You said it couldn't follow us. It didn't. It was born here. The light took form, tall, faceless, its body made of swirling smoke and fire. Its voice echoed through their minds rather than their ears. The cycle turns again, flesh and light, bound by fear. Aaron fired. The blasts passed straight through it. Lyra shouted, "Don't. It feeds on energy." The creature grew stronger, expanding until it filled half the tunnel. Its presence felt heavy, like the air itself wanted to crush them. Lyra raised both hands. Golden light burst from her palms, colliding with the creature's dark glow. The clash sent waves of force down the tunnel, making the walls crack. Aaron shielded his face. Can you hold it? Not for long. He looked around, desperate. Then he saw it, crystals in the wall vibrating with each pulse of energy. He grabbed one and ripped it free. What are you doing? Lyra shouted. Trying something human. He slammed the crystal into his suit's power cell. Sparks flew, but the crystal began to glow brighter. He aimed his blaster again, now pulsing with both blue and gold light. Hey, you shadow freak, he yelled. Try this. He fired. The beam hit the creature square in the chest. This time, it screamed, a deep, hollow sound that shook the ground. Lyra used the moment to focus her energy. The golden light around her turned white, blinding bright. Together, their power struck the creature. It twisted, shrieked, and finally burst into a rain of dark dust. The tunnel fell silent. Lyra collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. Aaron hurried to her side. You okay? She nodded weakly. You combined our energies. That should not be possible. Aaron grinned. Guess no one told the universe. Lyra looked at him, tired but curious. You are reckless, human. And you're welcome, he said, helping her up. For the first time, she almost smiled. You are impossible. He laughed softly. That's also a human thing. They climbed toward the light until they reached the surface. The sun burned red on the horizon, setting behind endless dunes of silver sand. The storm had passed, leaving the sky clear and wide. Aaron took off his cracked helmet, breathing the alien air. It smelled sharp, metallic, and strangely fresh. Lyra stood beside him, looking toward the fading sun. This world was once beautiful, she said quietly. He glanced at her. It still is. You just have to look from the right angle. She turned to him slowly, her eyes reflecting the sunlight. You speak beauty even in ruin. That is why the shadow fears your kind. He raised an eyebrow. The shadow fears us. Yes, she said. Because humans believe even the dark can be turned to light. A faint rumble echoed behind them. The ground trembled again, softer this time. Lyra looked back toward the cave entrance. It's not over. The heart's energy woke more than we can see. Aaron checked his weapon. Then we keep moving. Lyra nodded. There is a place north of here. A signal tower built by the first ones. If we reach it, we might call for help or a warning. He smiled. Then that's our next stop. They began walking across the empty desert, two small figures under the fading sun. The wind whispered across the dunes, carrying their footprints away. But deep below the surface, in the dark where the heart once shone, something stirred. The dust of the fallen shadow began to move, slowly gathering again, forming a faint shape. And from far beyond the stars, unseen eyes opened, watching, waiting. The wind carried a soft hum across the desert, like a whisper from far away. Aaron Hayes walked beside Lyra, their shadows long under the red sun. The storm was gone, but the silence of the desert felt heavy, too heavy. For hours, they walked toward the horizon, where something tall and broken stood against the fading light, the signal tower. It rose from the sand like a dying giant, covered in vines of black metal and stone. The air around it shimmered faintly, like heat rising from fire. Aaron squinted through the dust. That thing doesn't look like it's been used in a long time. Lyra nodded. It was built by the first ones. It can reach across galaxies, even through the shadow's fog. But what? It has been silent for ages. Waking it may wake something else. Aaron gave a half-smile. You always have the best news. They climbed the broken hill of metal and stone. The tower's walls were etched with glowing lines, symbols that pulsed like veins. Inside, the air was cool and smelled faintly like ozone. Faded blue lights flickered along the walls, leading deeper into the structure. Aaron touched one of the symbols. Still works. Lyra stopped him. Do not touch it again. The tower reads energy, life energy. He pulled his hand back quickly. Right. Hands off the ancient alien tech. Lyra moved to a console made of crystal and metal. Her fingers traced over the surface, awakening faint lights. Aaron watched her. You really know how to do this stuff, huh? I was made for it, she said quietly. My kind were created to serve the systems of the first ones. To keep their worlds alive. He frowned. Created. Not born. She paused, looking at the console. Born from light, not blood. We were their echo. Aaron's voice softened. And now you're the last one. Lyra didn't look up. Perhaps not for long. A low hum filled the air as the tower began to awaken. Lights flared, running up the walls like rivers of fire. Outside, the sky darkened, as if the world itself felt the pulse of power. Aaron stepped back. What's happening? Lyra's eyes glowed bright. The tower is opening its memory. It is searching for a connection. To where? She didn't answer, because she didn't know. The air grew heavy. The floor trembled beneath their feet. Suddenly, a bright blue hologram appeared in the center of the room, a tall figure made of light. Its voice was calm, deep, and strange. Signal Tower Epsilon, reactivated. Identify. Lyra straightened. Lyra of the Aethan Order. Access code 9 Theta Prime. Access recognized. Genetic match, 0.004 deviation. Warning, network breach detected. Aaron frowned. Network breach. What does that mean? Lyra's face turned pale blue under the light. It means, the shadow is already inside the system. Before she could react, the hologram flickered. The blue light turned red. Containment compromised. Purge sequence initiated. The walls began to glow red-hot. Sirens filled the chamber. Aaron shouted, Purge sequence? That sounds bad. Lyra grabbed his arm. Run. They sprinted through the hallway as the walls erupted in bursts of light. The whole tower began to shake. Pieces of metal fell around them, glowing from the heat. Outside, the ground cracked open. Lyra yelled over the noise, the tower's core is unstable. It's trying to destroy itself before the shadow takes full control. Aaron's heart pounded. Can you stop it? Not stop, she said. Redirect. She ran to another console near the exit, her hands flying across the glowing symbols. Sparks danced around her fingers. Aaron watched the walls ripple with red light. You've got maybe 30 seconds before this place becomes a crater. Lyra didn't look up. Then 30 seconds will have to be enough. The tower groaned, a sound like metal screaming. Outside, lightning struck the top of the tower again and again, feeding its energy. Finally, Lyra slammed her hand on the console. Done. Aaron looked around. Did it work? Lyra's voice was low but calm. The purge has been redirected, upward. He frowned. Upward. The ground trembled again. A beam of light shot from the tower's peak into the sky, a pillar of blinding blue energy that pierced the clouds. Aaron shielded his eyes. What did you just do? Lyra turned toward him, her hair glowing in the wind. I sent a message. To who? To whoever is still listening. For a long moment, neither spoke. The beam faded, leaving a soft blue glow across the sky. Aaron lowered his arm slowly. Well, that was dramatic. Lyra smiled faintly. It was necessary. The first one's network reaches across worlds. If any of them remain, they will hear it. He crossed his arms. And if the shadow heard it too? Her eyes darkened. Then we are already seen. A cold wind swept through the ruins. Sand blew across the broken floor, and far in the distance, the clouds began to twist, forming dark spirals. Aaron felt the hair on his neck rise. That doesn't look good. Lyra's voice was calm, but her tone held fear. It is coming. The shadow. She nodded. Not the full presence, only its eyes. It sends watchers to find us. Aaron checked his blaster. Then we need to move, right now. Lyra stepped toward the tower's edge, looking out over the desert. There is a valley beyond the eastern ridge. Old shelters from the war. We can hide there until night. Aaron nodded. Lead the way. They began to run again, leaving the tower behind them. The red sun sank lower, painting the sky in fire. Behind them, the tower stood tall, broken but glowing faintly blue. For a brief moment, it looked peaceful. Then, deep within its core, something moved. The remains of the shadow fragment, the one they thought destroyed, began to pulse again, feeding on the tower's energy. The blue light flickered, and turned black. That night, far above the desert, the stars shifted. Somewhere in the dark, something ancient had heard the call. A distant voice whispered through the void. The signal has been received. The humans have touched the light. And the shadow began to move. The night sky over the desert was clear and silent. Stars shimmered above like cold fires, scattered across the blackness. The red sun was gone, but its heat still lingered on the sand. Aaron Hayes sat beside a small blue flame. It wasn't real fire. Lyra had created it from the tower's leftover energy. It didn't burn or smoke, but it gave light and warmth. He looked up at the stars. You think anyone got your signal? Lyra stood near the edge of the ridge, her golden eyes reflecting the sky. Someone did. I can feel it. Aaron smiled faintly. Hopefully someone friendly. She didn't answer. Her gaze stayed fixed on the horizon. After a moment, Aaron said, You're worried. Yes, she said softly. The tower's message wasn't just light. It carried a memory signature. Anyone who knows the first one's code could trace it. So, the shadow. She nodded. And its servants. The watchers. Aaron frowned. Watchers? You mean like spies? No. They do not spy, she said quietly. They erase. The air shifted, a soft wind moving across the dunes. Aaron felt it first, cold and wrong, like the air itself forgot to breathe. The small blue flame flickered and died. He stood quickly. Lyra. She turned, eyes glowing brighter. They are here. A sound echoed in the distance, low, deep, like thunder that never ended. The stars above them began to dim, one by one. Aaron grabbed his weapon. I don't see anything. That's how they move, Lyra whispered. They travel between the light and the dark. Don't look at them, look for what disappears. Aaron scanned the dunes. For a moment, everything seemed still. Then, a shape moved, a faint blur, like heat in the air. Got one, he said. A second later, the blur solidified into a tall figure, black armor, long limbs, no face. Its head tilted unnaturally, like it was studying them. Another appeared behind it. Then two more. Lyra stepped forward. Stay close to me. Aaron raised his blaster. I'm starting to hate your kind of company. The watchers began to move, slowly at first, silent steps, like shadows sliding across the ground. Their bodies glowed faintly from inside, veins of red energy crawling under their armor. One spoke, its voice a whisper of metal scraping on glass. You woke the heart. You called across the void. The shadow has heard you. Aaron took a step back. Tell your boss we're not taking visitors. The creature tilted its head again. You do not decide who listens. Lyra raised her hand. You will not take him. The watcher's voice grew colder. He carries the light of your kind. He carries hope. That cannot be allowed. Aaron's pulse quickened. They sound like they've met me before. Run, Lyra said. What? Run. The ground exploded beneath them. A wave of energy threw sand high into the air. Aaron rolled, firing blindly. The blue beams hit the creatures, slowing them but not stopping them. Lyra spread her arms wide, summoning a dome of golden light. It shimmered around them like a fragile bubble. The watchers struck it, sending ripples across its surface. Aaron crawled beside her. That shield won't last long. She didn't answer, her face tense with effort. They feed on fear. Don't give them more. Not giving them fear, he said, giving them lead. He fired again, this time at the ground, kicking up dust and light. The watchers staggered, momentarily blinded. Lyra used the chance to move. Go. They sprinted down the other side of the ridge, sand sliding under their feet. The watchers followed, silent, relentless, gliding instead of running. Aaron looked back. They're catching up. Lyra's eyes flashed gold. Then I will slow them. Before he could argue, she stopped and turned. Her body glowed brighter and brighter, until she was blinding. She thrust both hands toward the sky. A surge of golden energy shot upward, a beam that split the clouds open. The watchers froze in place, their forms shaking violently. Aaron shielded his eyes. Lyra, you'll burn yourself out. She didn't stop. The light grew stronger until it turned white. The watchers screamed, a horrible sound like metal tearing. Then, one by one, they vanished into dust. When the light faded, Lyra collapsed onto her knees, her glow gone. Aaron ran to her. Hey, stay with me. Her voice was weak. I'm fine, just tired. He knelt beside her. You saved us again. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. You keep saying us, human. He smiled. Yeah, because that's what we are now. For a moment, she stared at him, then looked away. The watchers will not stop. They will return stronger. Then we'll be stronger too. Lyra glanced up at the broken clouds, where faint stars began to reappear. There is no strength against the shadow. Only delay. Aaron stood, watching the horizon. Then let's delay it long enough for someone to fight back. She looked up at him, tired, but with a spark of respect. You truly believe your people can win? He smiled faintly. We don't always win. But we never stop trying. Lyra slowly stood. The desert wind caught her hair, lifting the silver strands like threads of light. Then perhaps, there is a reason I was sent to find you. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Find me? She nodded. You think it was chance that I crashed near your world? That you found me first? No. The heart sent me to you. Aaron blinked. The heart? Why? Because, she said softly, you carry something even it cannot create, free will. He looked down, speechless for once. Lyra stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. The shadow cannot predict what is born from choice. Before he could reply, the ground trembled again, soft, but unmistakable. Aaron looked around. Please tell me that's not what I think it is. Lyra's face turned serious. It is. The Watcher's signal has reached the greater hive. He frowned. The greater what? She looked at him, her eyes glowing faint gold again. The shadow is sending its herald. Aaron sighed. You mean something bigger than those? Much bigger. He took a deep breath. Then I guess we don't get a break. Lyra turned toward the east. There is an old base near the cliffs. The first one stored something there, something we can use. Aaron nodded. Lead the way, partner. They began walking again under the pale stars, their footprints fading behind them. But far above, in the sky beyond sight, something vast moved, a dark shape that blotted out starlight as it descended slowly toward the world below. Its voice, though silent, rippled through the night like a cold wind. The light has chosen a human. Then the human must burn. The night had turned cold. The desert, once quiet, now felt alive with whispers. Each gust of wind carried faint sounds, not human, not natural, like echoes of a storm that hadn't yet come. Aaron Hayes and Lyra walked side by side, their silhouettes outlined by the pale glow of twin moons. The sand crunched softly under their boots. Every few steps, Aaron looked up, scanning the sky. He didn't know what he was searching for, but he could feel something watching. Lyra was silent. Her golden eyes dimmed, her steps slower than usual. You're quiet, Aaron said. I am listening, she replied softly. The herald is near. Aaron frowned. You said this thing is a messenger. Lyra nodded. Yes. But not one that speaks with words. The herald is a creature made of the shadow's will. It hunts what the shadow cannot see. He swallowed hard. And it's hunting us. They reached the cliffs just before dawn. The sky ahead was beginning to glow orange, but the light felt weak, thin, as if afraid to rise. Below them, half buried in the sand, lay a massive structure, smooth metal, curved like the ribs of a giant beast. Aaron whistled low. That's the old base you talked about. Lyra nodded. The outpost of the first ones. Built to study light itself. Aaron looked impressed. And it's still here. Half asleep, she said. But it remembers. They slid down the rocky slope, sand pouring around their feet, and stopped at a wide metallic door. The door was covered in strange runes, glowing faint blue under Lyra's touch. She pressed her palm to the symbols. The ground trembled. The door split open with a deep hiss. Inside was a vast chamber filled with machines, lights, and floating shards of crystal. Dust hung in the air like tiny stars. Aaron stepped inside, his eyes wide. This looks like something out of a dream. Lyra's voice was quiet. Or a memory. They moved through the hall, past old control panels and long dead screens. Lyra stopped at the center of the room, where a sphere of light floated above a pedestal. This is what we need, she said. The heart fragment. Aaron stared at it. Looks fragile. It is powerful, Lyra said. If I merge with it, I can reach the rest of the network. Call for help. He frowned. You mean you merge with it? What happens to you? She hesitated. It will consume energy, mine, and maybe all of it. Aaron's stomach tightened. That sounds a lot like suicide. She looked at him calmly. It is survival, for your kind. Before he could answer, the ground beneath them shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep, echoing roar rolled through the chamber, long and hollow, like thunder underwater. Aaron spun around. Please tell me that's not it. Lyra's expression turned hard. It is here. From the open doorway, a dark fog began to pour in. It moved like smoke, but thicker, alive. Lights flickered. The crystals dimmed. The air grew heavy, pressing down on them. Aaron raised his weapon, but his hands were trembling. I can't see it. Lyra's voice was low. That's because it hasn't chosen a shape yet. The fog twisted, spiraling upward until it touched the ceiling. Then it began to solidify. First came the limbs, long and sharp like spears. Then a torso, broad and shadowed. Finally, a head, smooth, featureless, except for two burning eyes of red light. The herald stood 3 times taller than a man. Its voice was deep and cold, echoing without sound. Child of light. You call across the void. Why? Lyra's face was calm but pale. Because life still exists. And it will not surrender. The creature tilted its head. Existence is noise. Noise must end. Aaron stepped forward. Hey, Shadowface. You want her, you'll have to go through me. The herald turned its gaze toward him. For a moment, everything stopped, even the air. Aaron felt something pushing inside his mind, like 1,000 voices whispering his name. Lyra shouted, Aaron, don't look at it. But it was too late. A flash of red light filled his vision. He fell to his knees, gasping. He saw images, not memories, but possibilities. A burning earth. Empty cities. The stars themselves going dark. Then he heard a voice, deep and calm inside his mind. You are not meant for light. You belong to silence. Aaron clenched his fists, forcing himself to breathe. Then I'll make noise until my last breath. He lifted his blaster and fired. Blue light hit the herald's chest, it barely flinched. The creature's voice rumbled like distant thunder. Human defiance, inefficient. Lyra moved fast. She reached for the heart fragment and lifted it from the pedestal. It pulsed in her hands, growing brighter and brighter. The herald turned toward her. You cannot escape. The light will serve the dark. She held the sphere close to her chest. No. The light was never yours. The herald lunged forward, but Lyra raised her hand, and a wave of golden energy blasted outward, throwing it back. Aaron shielded his eyes. Lyra, what are you doing? She looked at him, her eyes glowing with fierce light. Buying you time. Time for what? To run. Aaron shook his head. Not without you. Her voice softened. You are the reason I still fight. But this is my burden. The herald roared again, pushing through the light. Cracks began to form in Lyra's armor, golden veins spreading across her skin. She screamed, not in fear, but in power. The heart fragment fused into her body, and her whole form blazed like a miniature sun. The herald reached her, its claws striking, and then the world exploded with light. Aaron was thrown backward. When he opened his eyes, everything was white. The herald was gone. The fog was gone. The base around him was silent. At the center of the room stood Lyra, or what was left of her. She was glowing faintly, her form flickering like fading fire. Aaron crawled toward her. Lyra, no, stay with me. She smiled weakly. It's all right. The herald is gone, for now. He took her hand. You can rest. We'll figure this out. Her golden eyes dimmed slowly. You humans always think there is more time. Aaron's throat tightened. There has to be. She leaned closer, whispering, then make it mean something. Her body shimmered, then dissolved into light, drifting upward like dust into the dawn. Aaron sat there for a long time, staring at the empty space where she had been. The first rays of sun broke over the desert. He whispered, I'll make it mean something. I promise. Far above, beyond the clouds, a distant shape stirred. The shadow had felt the herald's fall. And in the cold darkness of space, it began to move, awakening fully for the first time in centuries. Its voice rolled through the void, ancient and vast. The human carries the spark. Then the stars themselves will burn to find him. The desert was silent again. The wind moved softly across the dunes, carrying only the echo of what had happened. Aaron Hayes stood alone among the ruins of the old base. The light from dawn spread slowly, painting the metal walls gold. Where Lyra had stood, only a faint shimmer of dust floated in the air, glowing like stars before fading into nothing. Aaron's hands were shaking. He had lost her. And yet, somehow, he could still feel her, not as a voice or image, but as warmth in his chest. He touched his heart, whispering, I'm still here, Lyra. I'll finish what you started. Far above, space twisted. A shape larger than mountains drifted through the void, dark, alive, endless. The shadow had awakened. Its tendrils reached down like black lightning, sliding through the clouds, touching the upper air. Wherever they passed, the sky dimmed, and the stars disappeared. From the edge of the desert, the night returned, swallowing daylight. Aaron looked up. The horizon burned red again. So, this is it. He picked up his blaster, checked the charge, empty. The fight with the herald had drained everything. He took a deep breath. Guess it's just me then. The sand trembled under his feet. The air grew heavy, vibrating with a low hum. The shadow's voice rolled across the sky, deep and cold, like the sound of a dying planet. Human. You hold what is not yours. Give it to the dark. Aaron clenched his fists. You've already taken enough. You cannot resist what has no form. Maybe not, he said. But you can't kill what refuses to stop. The sky split open. A massive beam of darkness struck the ground where the tower once stood, turning sand to glass. Out of it stepped a figure, not solid, but real enough to terrify. It looked like a man made of smoke and fire, eyes burning white. Aaron's voice was low. So that's you. I am all that remains when hope ends, the shadow said. And you, human, are noise that must fade. Aaron took a step forward. You know what Lyra said? That I carry something you can't control, free will. The shadow tilted its head. Choice is a lie. Every path leads to me. Aaron's eyes narrowed. Then maybe you haven't met a human before. The ground shook violently. Pieces of metal rose from the sand, floating, pulled by the strange energy around him. Then, deep inside his chest, he felt it, a pulse of light. It was warm, bright, and familiar. Lyra's voice whispered faintly inside his mind. The heart still lives within you, Aaron. Let it burn. He gasped as light burst from his hands, golden, like hers. It spread across his body, forming glowing lines under his skin. The heart fragment had merged with him completely. The shadow hissed. Impossible. You are not built for light. Aaron smiled. Maybe not. But she was, and she chose me. He raised his hand, and a beam of pure gold shot upward, cutting through the black clouds. The shadow screamed, a sound that made the ground tremble and the sky ripple. Aaron fell to one knee, but he didn't stop. The light kept flowing from him, brighter and brighter, until the whole sky glowed like fire. You will burn with it, the shadow roared. Then I'll burn fighting you. Aaron shouted. The battle of light and dark tore across the desert. Every time the shadow struck, Aaron's light answered. He could feel his strength fading, but the warmth in his heart didn't weaken. It grew stronger, as if Lyra's will was still guiding it. Flashes of her memory appeared in his mind, her eyes, her voice, her final smile. Together, he whispered. He lifted both hands to the sky and released everything. The explosion was silent, a wave of golden light that spread in all directions. The desert, the sky, even the stars above turned white for a single heartbeat. Then, silence. When the light faded, the world was quiet again. The shadow was gone. The clouds had cleared, revealing the stars, brighter than before. Aaron lay on the sand, breathing slowly. The glow on his skin had faded, leaving faint golden marks like scars. He looked up at the stars and smiled weakly. We did it, Lyra. The wind moved softly, carrying a faint whisper through the air. You kept the light. Aaron closed his eyes, letting the sound fade into peace. Days passed. When he woke again, he found the world quiet, calm. The desert was no longer red, but pale gold under a bright sun. He began to walk, step by step, toward the horizon. In the distance, he saw something rising from the sand, a new tower. Smaller, but shining with the same golden light as Lyra's heart. He smiled. Guess you built that for me. He reached it and placed his hand on the smooth surface. The tower responded, glowing faintly. A hologram appeared, Lyra's image, made of light. Her face soft, her voice gentle. If you are seeing this, the light has survived. And so have you. Aaron felt tears fill his eyes. You really didn't trust me to rest, huh? The hologram smiled faintly. There will always be darkness, Aaron. But there will also be you, and others like you. That is enough. The message ended, leaving him alone with the tower's quiet hum. Aaron looked toward the sunrise. The world was new, fragile, but full of hope. He whispered, the stars won't go dark again. Not while I'm here. Far beyond the edge of the galaxy, unseen by any eye, faint golden signals began to spread through space, traveling faster than light, reaching other worlds, other civilizations. And on those distant worlds, lights began to awaken, one by one. The universe had heard the message. The last spark had become a flame.